What's up guys, it's Mike from Job Ready English. In today's video I'm going to be talking about 6 common myths about finding a graduate job in the UK. Let's go! So the 6 myths I'm going to talk about today: it's impossible, university matters, my degree matters, English doesn't matter, I'll do it tomorrow, and there's an easy way. And I just want to talk about each of these really quickly. If you like this video, like, comment and subscribe, and I can go into this in some more detail. So let's start off with it's impossible. It's not impossible to get a tier 2 job in the UK, but it is super difficult. So if you want to think about your average hit rate, it's about 1 in 100 or 100%. So how do we work that out? Well, you get about 350,000 international non-EU students coming to the UK each year, and then there's about 25,000 tier 2 general visas given out each year. So that's just the basic maths. And of course, not all of those visas are going to be going to international students. So it's a fairly low minority, and I tend to find a hit rate of about 1 in 100 is about right. So university matters. There seems to be this real kind of persistent belief, and to a certain extent it is kind of true. So if you went to a G5 university, or what they call G20, so the G5 is Oxford, Cambridge, Imperial, UCL and LSE, and the G20 is much more, so you have kind of Warwick, Lancaster and so on and so forth. So your university matters. It's not actually true. So on an individualized basis, I tend to find that UK companies are really meritocratic. So they're actually going to look at, what they're really interested in is your grade. So the grade you got for your bachelor, your 2-1. The actual university itself doesn't matter, and I can see that from both sides. So your degree matters. So this is the third myth about finding a graduate job in the UK. A student will come up to you and say, "Oh, I've studied a marketing degree. What marketing jobs can I get?" Now, of course, this makes sense because that's the degree that you studied. But many students, they don't actually research the job opportunities. So they don't kind of say, "Oh, I'm going to study a marketing degree." Are there lots of students who go on and get marketing jobs? Now, the university might say to you, they'll throw out some figures like 95% plus of our students are employed within 6 months. That may be true, but that doesn't mean it's in the UK. And also that's based upon respondents who actually replied. So it's really important when you're looking at these statistics. You know, a question that I always think should be asked is like, okay, how many international non-EU students got a tier 2 visa on this course last year? Like, that's a really specific question. And I think a lot of universities, probably all universities, would really struggle to answer that. But going back to my original point, your degree doesn't matter. Why doesn't it matter? Because jobs are entry level, and most of them are non-degree specific unless they're really technical. So particularly if you're going into a science or an engineering role, your degree really doesn't matter. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't apply for, say, those marketing, consulting, design, business management jobs. It just means broaden your horizon. So if you want to get a super specific job and then you say, "Oh, it's impossible," well, yeah, because you're setting your standards too high. I mean, is it that you want to get a textile manufacturing job in the UK, which is going to be super difficult, or you just want a tier 2 job? Myth number 4, English doesn't matter. I can't believe how many times over and over again, and I'm going to be really brutally honest, I've had conversations with students whose English is just rubbish. Like, they can't actually have a conversation with me, and I'm not even interviewing you. Who am I? And they're really struggling to communicate in English, and they're saying, "Oh, you know, finding a job is so difficult and no one wants to talk to me." Well, you need to learn the country's target language, and you need to be practicing that on a regular basis. The first stopping point I'd say before any of these is, if your English isn't good enough, you need to stop at step 1 and make sure that your English gets better. That's something that gets missed time and time again, because I often feel that just kind of gets smoothed over. It doesn't mean your English has to be perfect, has to be fluent. It just means it has to be better. The next thing is, I'll do it tomorrow. So time and time again, what students will do is they'll say, oh no, I'm studying, oh, I've got an exam, I've got to do my modules, I've got to do my papers, and then they'll only start looking for a job once they graduate. Now, this will change, I suppose, once the graduate immigration scheme is in, but in a way it won't change because you're doing exactly the same thing as everybody else. So if you started applying when you started your course, the competition is much less, because when you think about it, there are fewer people who are going to be applying for those jobs. They're going to be much more desperate. They're going to be less motivated than you. So by putting it off until tomorrow, you're really doing yourself a disservice, because a lot of the stuff about applying for a job in the UK is really just about numbers. Like, yeah, coaching's important, feedback, all those types of things are super useful, and that's stuff that I've used with clients over the years. But the people who succeed are resilient and they start applying early, and it's still a process that lasts a couple of months. Even the client who I worked with recently, the video that I put out about getting jobs in 60 days during coronavirus, that still took a lot of effort. That was still 20 or 30 applications. And the final myth is there is an easy way. This one gets me every time. Every year it's a different thing. It could be, only apply for jobs, you should only study something which is on the shortage occupation list. Look, I'm sorry to break it to you. If that was the case, every computer scientist would get a job. Every structural engineer would get a job. Go and speak to a master's class full of structural engineers and see how many of them have got jobs. What I'm saying is actually quantify your data. Yes, there is a shortage of people, but let me be super clear. There's a shortage of people with experience. It's not a shortage of people at an entry level. Yeah, that is the definition of the shortage occupation list. Or I'm going to buy a tier 2 visa, I'll only apply for these industries, I'm going to get a remote internship. The list goes on and on. Every year there's something new and somebody saying there is an easy way. There is no easy way to get a tier 2 job. I have to be really clear about that. Whatever you're doing, anybody who's gotten a tier 2 job that's actually a decent tier 2 job is going to say to you they really had to sweat for it. They really had to work, or they were really lucky. Yeah. So those, on that thunderous note, those are the 6 myths. Like, comment and subscribe if you'd like me to explain any of these anymore. I'd be happy to do so, and I will see you on Friday.